Spinning wheel. Hello, everyone. We are live. Welcome back. It is a rainy, wet, and kind of gloomy Thursday where I am. I'm not sure about you guys, but I'm really glad to see it. And it does have that feeling of like we're moving towards hunker down weather a little bit. I feel like that's in line with today's topic, because hunkering down, kind of getting in the bunker, trying to figure out what's going on is all a part of building a team, creating leadership, and dealing with the not completely inappropriate founder fight, attachment, and everything in between to maintain control. Control is how you got here. You controlled yourself. You woke up every morning and did it because you didn't feel like it, and you did it anyway, and you kept going, and you did the thing called grinding, and then you probably doubled down on grinding. And somewhere along the way, there was somebody who actually was positive about what you were doing, got a couple of attaboys, gave you a little bit of a lift. You maybe even brought them on. You might have a partner, you might have a couple of minions, but none of those things are your first team where you start giving people influence, power, and dare say decision-making, control. And that's I think maybe one of the first places we should start. How do you guys want to unwrap this one?
Can I just start by saying hustle and grind is the worst advice that people have ever given entrepreneurs ever?
Agreed.
Like, it makes people work way longer, way harder than they actually should or have to, and buy into the belief that they have to be everything in their business. The first step to building your first leadership team is recognizing you should be the dumbest person in the room on that team.
Amen. Keep going.
Episode over.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
So well said, Zach. Thank you for that. Yep. The grind in my mind, what I was picturing is like hopping out of the plane and forgetting to pull the cord and just plummeting towards the earth.
like in the old Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Yes, exactly.
But like, for real, like, you should be the dumbest person in that room, and you should be someone that, like, yes, you know the ins and outs of your business, but you recognize that there is a lot that you don't know. And so bringing the team in is the first step of unlocking the wide vista of potentiality in your business. And so really focusing on hiring for things, like, you can hire for things you don't want to do. You can hire for things that you don't think that you're capable of doing, but either way, always hire better than you and get your ego out of the way. But, Rob, you're the leadership and hiring expert. Let's get your take.
Well, complementary would be the one-word answer, right? And better than you, complementary. I might be a competent hack at marketing my HVAC business, but when I hire someone to do marketing for my HVAC business, totally to your point, Zach, I'm going to hire somebody who's way, way better at that than I am. We're no longer going to hack our way through. We're actually going to do a legit job. If that's the strategy, hire better, and then trust them and listen to them when you do. What do you got?
I want to stitch this together with a principle, and that is hire people who measure things, right? When you're talking about this HVAC marketer, Rob, have them show you math. And then to Zach's point, be completely comfortable going, I was told the math is important. Please explain to me what it means.
Right. With humility, right?
Yeah.
What's a
Yes.
ROAS?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah. Show me how you got that number. That's
Yeah.
part of what
Yes.
you're paying for, is the education, the advice, the wisdom, the stuff that they're bringing to the table. And it is okay to go, don't know these words, please draw it
Right.
out.
Well,
Right.
exactly. Just look at it this way, right? If you're a billionaire, right, are you hiring an attorney and saying, teach me everything about this deal? I need to know all the ins and outs of the deal. Or are you saying, listen, I want to buy Twitter. I want to buy Twitter. I want to take it private again, figure out how to get it done. Right. And I think that that's another part of this is
Right.
that we need to be sure that we're letting go of control of the methodology while retaining focus on the outcome and accountability of the outcome. And I think that that kind of is complementary to your points, right? You're looking for someone whose skill set is complementary to your own, so that they can go and do what they're good at and you can focus and do what you're good at. But most of these teams fall apart when people try and control the methodology. And I think that there's a huge problem with, letting that happen.
Yeah. I would say also that there's a unconscious, often unwritten rule of like, we've always done it this way. And it's a little too zen because that way is no way.
Well, you don't know
Right.
how it works here, Jacob.
Yes, that's why you hired me.
Right.
I'm here to show you that neither of us know how it works because nobody's ever written down steps 1 through 4. Oh, wait, there's 7.
Right. That's not how it works here,
exactly.
Rob. You don't know how it works here. Or maybe I do, and that's why you hired me. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and this is where the ego thing comes back into play, right? Because it's like a lot of times when we're trying to control the methodology, when we're trying to say, oh, you don't know how things run around here, it's, I know how things run around here, so just shut up and do what I tell you to do, which is
Right.
why your business is failing in the first place,
Right.
and you had to hire me to come in and fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And so that to me is like, often it's this matter of trust and getting your ego out of the way. Going back to your point, Jacob, but yes, like this we've always done it this way is super dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
It's infuriating.
It's like if we stuck with we've always done it this way, we would still be using clay tablets.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep on beating that Henry Ford quote into the ground because I love it so much. If I had asked them what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
Right.
Well, exactly. I mean, like, look at what Elon Musk did with Tesla. And this has been on my mind a little bit because I'm kind of obsessed with the Slate. Have you guys heard of the Slate? Okay, so Slate Auto was started, I think it was started by Jeff Bezos, right, Jacob? And
yeah.
And basically his thing was, I want to be the Henry Ford of EVs. So you already had these luxury cars when the car was first being introduced. You had these luxury automakers, but the car was largely unaffordable for the average man. Henry Ford comes in and says, we're going to make a $500 automobile, roughly $15,000 equivalent today, doing the math. Yeah. And what does Jeff Bezos do? He says, we want to make the EV available to everyone today. So we're building one $25,000 without any customization. $25,000. When you tack the $10,000 US government EV rebate on it, what do you get? $15,000 price tag. You're going to see those things everywhere, because you're going to be able to beat the crap out of them, and people are going to want them because they're going to be a great little commuter vehicle. And that's how the Model A started. And then all of a sudden Slate will do exactly what Toyota did, be this piece of crap little car that you can just beat up and it'll run forever. And then they'll work up the value stream until they're competing with Tesla. It's just the way it's going to go. Just trust me. If wrong, I will. I don't know what I'll do.
Eat my hat. Eat my hat.
Yeah, I'll eat your hat. I'll admit that I'm wrong. But the point is that when Jeff Bezos was doing this, he wasn't saying, I'm going to have to be the one who knows all of this. He was bringing in a team of experts that were building this whole thing out. And I forgot why I got onto the Slate Auto in the first place. Someone help me here.
Yeah. I will say, since we're on this tangent, they made the user interface really fun. There's a tiny bit of configuration available. You get to sit there and type away on the portal and be like, oh, I'm going to change the color of this or that accent. And I think they're being really smart to the level of consumer that would purchase that type of item as well. Because again, it's just that hint of customization, but that doesn't seem that far off the demographic that's also customizing sneakers. And so, yeah, I think it's really well designed and really smart. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the way that they've structured that customization, they have what they call slatelets that you can clip into your dashboard. Kind of like the what are they, gibbets that go in Crocs and these little things. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly. I never drew that connection, but you're absolutely right. I had a buddy who said it's the Lego of pickup trucks.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you can. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, to start pulling the thread back, there is that standardization all the way through production, and this is a vehicle. Right? Yeah. There's some complex processes in it, but it is that plug and playable, which means it is that delegatable, which when I was preparing for today's episode, the way that you maintain control is actually inside of your SOPs anyway. Right? You standardize, you have a process, you have clarity. And if you don't know how to make them, you hire the team that does. And then you manage them. And that's actually how, in my opinion, you do maintain control and therefore have your hand on what should be your number one focus, quality.
Bingo. And I love that you brought it back to quality, because at the end of the day, that's the thing that matters most. And this is the thing that can often get left behind when we talk about doing SOPs, when we talk about bringing in new teams, things like that. I worked with a home services company. Actually, no, we're going to go with this one. I worked with a medical practice, and they brought in a new CEO in this medical practice, and she had no clue how we did things, but she was adamant, because she had multiple master's degrees, that she knew what she was doing. She ran the business into the ground within 2 years, like completely nearly bankrupted. Yep. An 8-figure business, like mid 8 figures. They were performing well in their market. They were top of the market. She ran them into the ground, and she harvested that for all it was worth. And the founders of the company were, needless to say, not very pleased. So but it was all because she came in and she wasn't focused on quality. She wasn't focused on understanding culture, and she was focused on driving her own narrative. Now, this is also a lesson on the flip side of the hiring of your team, right? Because you want to hire for, as you get higher and higher up, skill set matters a lot. But so does cultural fit. And you want to be sure that you're hiring someone with the skills to pay the bills, as well as that cultural fit, right? I don't want someone to look at me like I'm a weirdo if I'm quoting Lord of the Rings and Star Wars in our executive meetings, because that does happen.
I'm going to hit a tangent that I promise to repeat every episode from now till the end of this year.
Nice.
Because I think it's so important. And, you mentioned something. I think you used the word skill at least 4 times, Zach. So I'm sure I'll get some support from Rob on this. Upskilling. Mm-hmm. My case study of the year is this little company that took some workers and said, hey, we have a better job for you. And it lifted them up a level. What are the results of this? Well, let's look at the math for a second. 8,500 people in the call center said, you're being replaced by AI. Because those front-end calls were no longer necessary to a human, so they turned them into design consultants, customization, right? They were given a higher level of control, leadership, and in that transition, the AI replacement saved $17 million of savings just on the implementation, and then resulted in an additional $1.3 billion in sales attributed to this singular function by giving human beings more time to talk to customers at IKEA and say, so what color is the paint on your walls? Because the wood grain or the white might go better. And they upsold all this furniture just by, putting those pieces together, which again, I think is a brilliant example of leadership in a micro level, a really narrow field.
Man, those greedy capitalist bastards bringing in artificial intelligence to actually improve people's lives, help people make more money, give them more skills. Those sons of bitches. I can't believe it.
Right.
And you still have to make it yourself.
What's funny and often missed in this realm too is, let's not even promote them, Jacob, right? Let's just talk about people in position.
Right.
You can hire them for X thousands of dollars a year and just let them sit. Is that what anyone under the age of 40 will tolerate nowadays? Not being developed, not having a future, not knowing what that next job will be. No, they won't, right? So they sit, and then 6-9 months, maybe 12 months later, they turn over, and you say, no big deal. It's a low-level position, right? I'll just hire another one for X thousand dollars. So you treat the people like a commodity. You have high turnover, or you only cycle your payroll adjustments typically once a year. So how about early in the year, you talk to them about their development plan, you invest some time in coaching up some skills, and then you collect on the return on that investment, right, for the next 9 to 12 months.
Right.
And they got better. And then you had to give them a 3% raise, a 5% raise. But guess what? They're 10% more productive, right? Oh, it's all soft costs. Oh, it's all soft margins and gains. Yep. But you can absolutely develop people well beyond. And if you're going to have turnover, what's the right turnover to have? Well, this person got promoted. This person got a senior title. This person left to go be VP of whatever, director of whatever, right? And the whole team celebrates that person leaving, not because, yay, you got out of here, but if you run that kind of department, they're just happy for that person succeeding, and you as the leader are happy for that person succeeding because everyone on the team is generally happier, more engaged, and more productive. Mm-hmm. It's just good leadership to develop your people. It's in their best interest, the business best interest, and your best interest.
It sounds like you're creating a culture.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like a culture, doesn't it?
Well, okay. I love this because I worked at a company where they basically had 2-tier of employees, right? They had the frontline workers and the management. And this was in a blue collar company that I was working with. They had the frontline workers and the managers that were compensated very well and treated very well, had lots of great benefits. And then they had the people in the call center and the people in the finance office and the accountants and all of that stuff. And they were treated like garbage. And their turnover was massive. And what I'm hearing you say is, do you want the person that's answering your phone that is giving the first impressions of your business to your customers to be really happy with your company or to be pissed off at your company.
Right.
And that's
Great
all
question.
about elevating your team, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, you know, you look at companies like Ford, GM, things like that. I read a book called Freedom's Forge, great book, highly recommended. It's about the industrial build out of the United States in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like it would be boring as snot, and it kind of was, but by the end it was incredibly fascinating. But my point is that you can look in the history and you can see that when these big industrial companies were starting up, they were pulling guys from the factory line to step into executive roles.
Yep.
You look at companies today like Facebook, Google, things like that. That's less the case as we've gotten more specialized with executive leadership. However, you know, those are both options. But to build your first management team, like your first leadership team, like you have to be aware of that so that you can decide what matters more to me. Is culture what matters more to me, or is specialization and expertise what matters more to me? And you're going to have to weigh the pros and cons of that, because there will be benefits and costs associated with each side of that equation. You're never going to get someone who has been with you from the beginning, who is perfectly qualified to be an executive. You're just never going to get that, because if they're perfectly qualified to be an executive, they're going to be an executive somewhere.
Right.
Yep.
I do a lot of partner work with fractionals because, frankly, the companies that we support can't hire talent at the level that talent costs, or if they had the budget, couldn't pick them out of a police lineup anyway. Right? Because their processes are not clear nor defined, so they can't say, hey, are you really good at these three things? And so, you know, I've sat there in this, and a phase shift takes 18 months minimum. The growth that we're actually engaged in is committed to a 3 to 5 year window. So we see things happen over time. The point of teeing this up is, in my opinion, the very last fractional that you should replace. And just for those of you, that's leadership you can rent on your way to hiring, which is a very strong advantage when you don't know who to hire in the first place. The very last fractional you should replace, in my opinion, is a fractional CFO. That shouldn't happen until you've gone from zero to startup, which hits your first 10 million, and then startup to scale up, which lands at around 50 million. And at that point, you may consider hiring a full-time CFO.
Maybe.
Before then, you want somebody whose head is in 10 other companies anyway, going, I don't know if I'd make that decision because I saw it go bad over here 3 times.
Right.
2 of them I had to clean up after I was hired, and 1 they didn't agree with me and learn their lesson. And that happens in other seats all the way through your growth also.
It absolutely does.
Yeah. So sometimes your team is going to be farmed out. It's going to be consultant based. It's going to be like tenure based for periods of time. You're going to come in and have someone perform a role for 90 days or 6 months and teach you what you don't know so that you could actually identify the talent when the time is right or you can afford them. These are all components of that leadership team you're trying to create, and it's actually going to support you to have a greater amount of control because that comes from a higher level of acumen.
Does everyone know what a RACI chart is?
I have no idea.
No, let's map this out.
Okay. Responsible, accountable, consulted, informed.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so this is common nomenclature. I just want to pull it out for everyone. We're talking about without losing control.
Right.
So who's accountable for it? Right? We move the A all the way to the front. Who's ultimately, right? Where does the buck stop? Right? The owner, the CEO, ultimate accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Separate that from responsibility, i.e., the go do, execute, right? Tactical, however you want to frame it up, right? So when we do a RACI chart, we talk about who's accountable, typically the department head, who's responsible, typically one of the doers on the team, right? Some things are responsible at the leadership level, but not most of them. And then who's consulted, who weighs in, stakeholders, et cetera, et cetera. And then who just gets informed. By the way, this is what's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Too few people think in this way, especially in these small businesses that are stuck at 50, 100, 150 million dollars, right? No SOPs, also no RACI chart. So their communication sucks, right? So people go, what do you mean we bought a new division? What are you talking about? What do you mean we sold off the blankety blank division? I had no idea. I tried to call Jacob the other day and his email bounced, right? Like that kind of stuff happens all day long in poorly run businesses. And it's not that hard to do. It's one Excel workbook. And then we do the SOPs that go along with it, right? Every R, almost every R should have an SOP.
Yeah, I agree completely. And it's also not a case necessarily of poorly run, but also poorly designed businesses. My favorite example right now is meeting with the founder recently, and third follow-up call. Each one ends with, we're not ready yet. But he explained to me how his company is currently the sales pipeline is being managed by the COO. So that's not a sales role for those of you who are listening. But thankfully, it is an operations person. So there is a process. Celebrate that. Big check mark.
Right.
Where's the process living? In Trello. So cute that you can have a pipeline because you have a vertical and you have horizontals you can move. So it is a facsimile of a pipeline. The thing is, it doesn't report anywhere. It doesn't create any data. You can't measure anything. You don't know what the next steps are. I can't imagine the time I'd waste creating complex automations to support a step change inside of that environment. But worst case, what happens if that guy gets the flu?
Right.
Nobody's going to be able to step in there and manage the sales pipeline or basically tell up from down. They can see left to right. I will give them that credit. But this thing is balanced on a very, 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 very narrow bridge over a very big drop.
Mm-hmm.
And I do see this stuff a lot. So the environment does give you control as well. And that's something to think about, because if you don't have your ducks in a row and things laid out, you are taking all sorts of risks that you may not be aware of.
All sorts of risks. Yeah. Yeah. So let's not take the risks by hiring untrustworthy, malaligned people who don't share our values, don't understand how the business runs, right? Let's hire well. That first person you add to your leadership team is critical. Make sure that they're trustworthy and understand the vision. They're bought in, sometimes literally, right?
Yeah.
and then trust them, right? They are the R. Let them go. You are the A. You have a right to oversight. They
Yeah.
should show up. You should meet regularly, and they tell you what they're doing and why. But you hired them because they're good at marketing or sales, and that's what you need, right? So give them a little rope, right? Give them a little rope, and hold them accountable to their own results.
Absolutely.
That's it.
And again, to repeat it from earlier, if you don't know what the process is, you're hiring them to help you define it. Measuring will be involved. If you don't know what the measurements mean, how they work, get them to explain to you so that you can talk about them on a regular basis. And like, that's how you learn. It's okay to not know.
Yeah. When we teach leadership courses and we put the list of character attributes on the board, the one at the top, right, the most important, is humility. It's how you save yourself. It's how you provide for your team. It's how you continuously learn and grow. Right? If you don't have humility at some point, doesn't mean you can't be smart. But if you don't have the humility to say, teach me what you know, right? I hired you because you're better at this than I am.
Amen.
You're in the wrong seat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that first one's hard. I get it. I would say the other thing to look out for is maybe don't hire all your friends who you've had lifelong relationships with. Because sometimes as the business grows, as Jacob said earlier, the odds of them all being executive material are pretty low. And then you're going to end up with your best friend's the head of sales. He doesn't know their ass from a hole in the ground, right? Like, and now you got to fire your best friend, right? I mean, that's nowhere to be. So let's not end up there.
Allowing people to own their role as well and have them push back.
Yeah.
Because they're holding the space for the thing that they're an expert in. I consider that an important part of hiring.
Well, I completely agree. And this is why I said you have to trust them, right? Because it's like, if you don't trust them, you're just, and I've been hired for this purpose as well. And I'm sure you guys have as well. If you're hiring them because you want to collect someone who's smarter than you, but then you don't actually trust that they're smarter than you don't actually allow them to do what you hired them to do. You really just want them to sit back and look pretty in a corner so that you can feel good about yourself. Look at who I hired. Isn't it great? I'm so cool. I hired this person. I'm super smart. Like, then you're wasting your time, your money, and their time.
There are plenty of celebrities you can onboard for their brand strength.
Right. It's just, it's an incredibly egotistically driven thing. So you have to bring people in, and in humility, you have to say, okay, you know what? I hired you to be the head of mergers and acquisitions. So, you know, I think that it should probably be this way, but you're the head of mergers and acquisitions. So I'm going to trust that it actually needs to be this way. Now, I do want to hear you explain your reasoning, and we're going to talk it out, and we're going to have a thorough discussion about it, because I'm not just going to take it lying down. However, at the end of the day, we're going to be able to go and get dinner together, right? We're still going to be friends and all of that. But like, I am going to trust you when the time comes to execute. I just want you to be able to, you know, validate your reasoning. And that's like, that can often, if not careful, be taken too far.
Truly.
I think we did it.
I think we did. That was a lot of ground covered,
Yep.
but on some really important stuff.
Yep. We always get.
Yes.
We should have like the SOP drinking game,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Every time this podcast says SOP, you got to take a drink, right?
Yeah.
So
First
Yeah.
person to go to the bathroom loses.
there you go. There you go. Oh, good stuff, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time and your really, like, for me, I'd say one of the things I appreciated was the attention to detail today, because I heard a lot of executable stuff. And honestly, like 1, 2, or 3 of the 30 things that were thrown out will all move the needle.
That's why we're here, right? Helping people move the needle.
What
Absolutely.
needle?
The dashboard.
Oh,
Metrics, KPIs, OKRs, all the things.
What matters. Yeah. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.